Hello boys and girls, welcome to Mrs. Bandu's Math Movies. This is lesson 7-3, Triangles, for course 2. Our objective is to classify triangles and to find the angle measures of triangles. Okay, so just a couple of things, key concepts and some definitions and other items. Okay, first of all, the angle sum of a triangle. The sum of the measures of the angle of a triangle is 180 degrees. That's always true. Okay. So that's something you should know and keep that in your head. You should have that memorized or know how to figure it out, but yeah. Congruent sides are sides that have the same length. And when we classify triangles, we're going to consider, in some cases, classification by sides. As a matter of fact, our first three, and I'm going to draw a line here to separate these 6 triangles. The first 3 are a classification by sides. Okay? So in number 1, or the first example we see here, this is a scalene triangle. A scalene triangle has no or 0 congruent sides. Okay. Isosceles triangle has at least 2 congruent sides. Congruency is marked by these little hash marks that you see. So any side within a figure that would have one little hash mark on it or one little dash on it will be the same length or will be congruent. All right. And finally, back on the isosceles triangles. Oftentimes we'd simply say if it has 2 congruent sides, it's isosceles. If it has more than that, it's still isosceles, but there's a better definition for it. So just remember the 2 with isosceles. I always remember one is isolated, so 2 match. So isosceles. Equilateral triangle has 3 congruent sides. In other words, all of the sides are congruent, and again, if it's already pre-measured for you, they will be marked as being congruent. Certainly you could measure them if you needed to. Okay, so you need to know these 3 classifications by sides. And then we also classify by angles. Okay, our first one is a right triangle. I think it's pretty obvious. That's because it has one right angle. The next one is an acute triangle because there are 3 acute angles within that triangle. And finally, we have an obtuse triangle, and it has one obtuse angle within it. Okay? So if you know your angles, basically you look for a right or an obtuse angle, otherwise everything has to be acute. But those 3 angle types also represent triangle types, classifications by angles. Okay, classifying triangles by sides. Classify each triangle by its sides. So if we look at example A, there are 2 congruent sides, so the triangle is isosceles. I-S-O-S-C-E-L-E-S, isosceles. There are no congruent no congruent sides in example B, so the triangle is scalene. Okay, that's kind of a unique word in and of itself as well. But anyway. All right, our next example asks us to classify triangles by angles, or by its angle measures. So when I look at triangle in A, I see angles of 36, 38, and 106 degrees. The triangle has one obtuse angle, so that makes it an obtuse triangle. if you look at example B, it has 75, 55, and 50 degrees, so it has 3 acute angles. This makes it an acute, whoops, spelled that wrong, A-C-U-T-E, an acute triangle. Okay, so that's generally fairly easy to pick out. If you have to measure, you can. If there's not enough information for you, you can always measure. Okay, number 3, finding the measure of an angle. Find the value of x in the triangle. So again, we're using the idea that the sum of the 3 angles in a triangle, so 78, 56, and x, all need to add up to 180 degrees. Add 78 and 56, and that gives you 134. So x plus 134 equals 180. Then I'm going to subtract algebraically 134 from each side. 180 minus 134 is 46 degrees. So angle x, the measure of angle x is 46 degrees. Okay. I'm fine too if you want to, if you prefer not to use the algebra, I am allowing you to use some number sense in this. So if you just want to add 78 plus 56 to get the 134, and then subtract 180 minus 134, and you get 46. As long as you're willing to write out your work, I'll accept this as well. Doesn't really matter to me. In this chapter, I'm going to not fret so much about algebra. I'm looking for, can you figure out what you need to know in geometry, but you still have to show me how you do it. Okay. All right. So let's look at, oh, I'm sorry. You have some quick checks here. In number 1, you want to be careful that you look at the correct triangle. So triangle BCD is the one that you want to pay attention to. Have your quick checks ready for the next time we meet in class. Bring in any questions or concerns you might have, and I'll be seeing you soon.